The sun had barely risen over the vast prehistoric valley, its golden light spreading across endless grasslands, thick jungles, and towering rock formations that had stood unchanged for millions of years. The world was raw, untamed, and unforgiving, a place where survival depended not on strength alone, but on instinct, courage, and sometimes sheer luck. Baru moved silently through the tall grass, his bare feet barely making a sound against the damp earth. He was young, but his eyes carried the sharp awareness of someone who had learned early that danger could come from anywhere. Every rustle, every distant call of an unseen creature, every shift in the wind meant something. And today, something felt different. He wasn't alone. Behind him, a few members of his small tribe followed at a distance. They were hunters, gatherers, survivors of a harsh world where every meal was earned through risk. Their bodies were lean, their movements cautious. Hunger had driven them out early, and failure was not an option. Baru raised his hand, signaling the group to stop. Ahead, near a cluster of ancient trees, something lay motionless on the ground. The smell reached them first, faint but unmistakable. Meat. Carefully, they approached. It was a fallen beast, large and heavy, likely injured in a fight or taken down by another predator during the night. Now it lay still, abandoned. For Aru and his tribe, it was a rare gift, food without the danger of a hunt. But in this world, nothing came without a price. Baru circled the carcass, scanning the surroundings. No movement, no sound except the distant hum of insects and the whisper of wind through leaves. He crouched, pressing his hand lightly against the ground, feeling for vibrations. Still nothing. He nodded. The group quickly moved in. Using sharp stone tools, they began cutting into the thick hide, working fast but carefully. Every second mattered. The scent of blood would travel far, and they were not the only ones who would be drawn to it. Baru kept watch, his eyes constantly shifting between the trees and the open plains. His instincts refused to relax. Something deep inside him warned that they were being watched. Then he saw it. At first, it was nothing more than a subtle movement, a shift in the grass, almost invisible. But Aru's eyes locked onto it. His breath slowed, his body stiffened. A shadow, long, silent, moving with unnatural smoothness. The grass parted slightly, and a massive shape revealed itself. A giant python, far larger than anything Aru had ever seen before, was gliding silently toward them. Its body was thick as a tree trunk, its scales blending perfectly with the earthy tones of its surroundings. Its eyes were cold, focused, not on the tribe, but on the carcass. The same carcass they were now tearing apart. Baru's heart began to pound. He knew what this meant. The python had likely claimed the prey earlier and left it to rest, returning now to feed. And now, they had unknowingly stolen from one of the most dangerous predators of their time. He let out a sharp, low sound, a warning. The tribe froze. Slowly, they followed his gaze. And then they saw it. Fear spread instantly. The python didn't rush, it didn't strike, it simply continued forward, its massive body coiling and uncoiling with terrifying calmness. It was confident, it knew its strength, it knew that it didn't need speed, it needed only the right moment. Baru gestured urgently, leave the food, but hunger fought against fear. Some hesitated, that hesitation was all it took. With sudden, explosive speed, the python lunged forward. Its body shot across the ground like a living rope of muscle, heading straight for the carcass, and anyone in its way. Chaos erupted. The tribe scattered in all directions, abandoning the meat. Baru grabbed a burning branch from a nearby fire they had started to smoke the meat, waving it wildly as he backed away. Fire was one of the few things that could make even the strongest predators hesitate. The python stopped briefly, its head lifting slightly, tongue flicking through the air. It sensed the fire. It recognized the threat, but it was not afraid. Instead, it coiled around the carcass, its massive body wrapping tightly as if to reclaim what was its own. The message was clear. This was its territory, its kill, its dominance. But Aru knew something worse. The python wouldn't stop there. Once it secured its prey, it would look for more. And they were still too close. Run, his instinct screamed, even if no words left his mouth. He turned and sprinted toward the trees, his tribe following close behind. The ground shook slightly as they ran, their breaths heavy, hearts racing. Behind them, there was a terrifying silence. No sound of pursuit, but that didn't mean safety. Baru didn't stop. He knew better. Predators like the python didn't chase wildly, they followed patiently, waiting for weakness. As they reached the dense jungle, the environment changed instantly. Thick vines hung from towering trees, and the air grew humid and heavy. Visibility dropped. Every shadow looked alive. The group slowed, trying to stay together. Then came the sound. A low, dragging movement behind them. Uru turned his head slowly. The python was coming. It had left the carcass. Whether driven by instinct, opportunity, or territorial aggression, it had chosen to follow them. Fear surged through the group. This was no longer about stolen food. This was a deadly chase. Uru's mind raced. Running blindly would only delay the inevitable. They needed a plan, something to stop it, or at least slow it down. He scanned the jungle quickly. Then he saw it, a narrow rocky passage between two large stone formations. Tight, uneven, difficult to pass through, especially for something as large as the python. He pointed. The tribe understood. They changed direction, pushing through thick undergrowth toward the rocks. Branches scratched their skin, roots tripped their steps, but they didn't slow down. Behind them, the python moved with relentless determination. Its body crushed plants and snapped small branches as it advanced. It didn't need speed, it needed persistence. Uru reached the rocky passage first. He squeezed through, his body scraping against the rough stone. One by one, the others followed, struggling but making it through. Then they turned. The python reached the entrance. For a moment, it paused, its head tilting slightly as it assessed the narrow gap. Its massive body shifted, testing the space. It tried to push through. The rocks held firm, its body pressed harder, muscles tightening, scales scraping loudly against stone. But the passage was too tight, too restrictive. Uru grabbed stones from the ground, throwing them toward the snake's head. Others joined him, shouting, making noise, trying to drive it back. The python recoiled slightly, not in fear, but in irritation. It hissed, a deep, unsettling sound that echoed through the jungle. Then, slowly, it began to withdraw. Relief washed over the group, but Uru didn't relax. He watched carefully. The python moved back into the shadows, its massive body disappearing piece by piece into the dense jungle. But its presence lingered, like a warning carved into the air itself. This land was not theirs. They had survived, but barely. The tribe gathered close, their breaths slowly returning to normal. Hunger still lingered, but now it was mixed with something stronger, respect. Respect for the dangers of their world. Respect for the creatures that ruled it. Uru looked back one last time at the path they had taken. Somewhere out there, the giant python still existed, still hunting, still dominating its territory. And he knew this wouldn't be the last time they faced such a threat. But today, they had learned something important. In a world where every shadow could hide danger, survival wasn't about being the strongest. It was about knowing when to fight, and when to run. The jungle did not forget. Even as the tribe moved deeper into the dense wilderness, putting distance between themselves and the narrow rock passage, a heavy silence clung to them. It wasn't the peaceful silence of safety, it was the kind that pressed against the ears, the kind that made every breath feel loud, every step feel dangerous. Uru walked at the front, his senses stretched to their limits. The encounter with the giant python had changed something inside him. Before, danger was always present, but now, it felt closer. Smarter. Watching. The tribe needed food, but now, every hunt carried a shadow of fear. Hours passed as they navigated through the thick jungle. The sunlight struggled to break through the canopy above, casting shifting patterns across the forest floor. Strange calls echoed in the distance, creatures unseen, lives hidden in layers of green. Finally, they reached a clearing. In the center lay a shallow stream, its water clear and gently flowing over smooth stones. Around it, signs of life were everywhere, hoofprints, broken branches, freshly disturbed earth. Animals came here often. Uru crouched near the edge, touching the wet ground. Fresh tracks. Small herd animals, maybe early deer-like creatures. Easy prey if they worked together. He signaled to the others. This time, they would hunt. The group spread out quietly, moving into positions around the clearing. They had done this many times before: surround, wait, strike. It required patience, coordination, and trust. Uru hid behind a fallen log, his eyes fixed on the far side of the stream. Minutes passed, then movement. A small herd emerged from the trees, cautious, alert. They stepped lightly toward the water, their ears twitching at every sound. The leader paused, scanning the area. Uru held his breath. Closer. The animals lowered their heads to drink. Now, with a sharp signal, the tribe burst into action. Shouts filled the air as they rushed forward, driving the herd into confusion. Some animals bolted toward the trees, others froze for a split second, just long enough. One of the hunters lunged, striking with a sharpened spear. Another followed. The herd scattered, but one animal fell. The clearing erupted in noise, panic, movement, survival. And then, silence. The tribe gathered around their catch, their faces filled with a mix of relief and exhaustion. This time, the hunt had been theirs. No scavenging, no stolen meal. Uru allowed himself a brief moment to breathe. But only a moment, because then he noticed something. The forest had gone quiet. Too quiet. No birds, no distant calls, no movement in the trees. The kind of silence that meant only one thing. Something was wrong. Uru stood slowly, his grip tightening on his spear. His eyes scanned the edges of the clearing, moving from shadow to shadow. Then he saw it, a long, familiar shape, barely visible among the thick roots of a massive tree. His chest tightened. It couldn't be, but it was. The python. It had followed them, not by chance, not by instinct alone. It had tracked them. Uru felt a chill run through his body. This was no longer just a predator defending its meal. This was something else, something persistent, something that had marked them. He gave a sharp warning. The tribe reacted instantly, grabbing weapons, stepping back from the carcass. Fear returned, stronger than before. The python did not move immediately. It lay still, its body partially hidden, its head slightly raised. Watching, waiting. Uru understood the danger now more than ever. Running blindly had worked once, but this time, they were deeper in the jungle. There was no narrow passage nearby, no easy escape. If they ran now, the python would follow again. And next time, they might not be so lucky. Uru made a decision. They would not run. He stepped forward, slowly, carefully, placing himself between the python and his tribe. His heart pounded, but his face remained focused. The others watched him, unsure, but they trusted him. Uru picked up a burning branch from their small fire near the carcass. Flames flickered, weak but alive. Fire had driven the python back before, but now, he needed more than fear. He needed control. The python's tongue flicked again, sensing the air, reading the tension. Then it began to move. Slowly at first, its massive body sliding forward, muscles rippling beneath its scales. Its eyes remained locked on the group, calculating, patient. Uru raised the burning branch higher, waving it in a wide arc. He shouted, loud and sharp, trying to make himself appear larger, more dangerous. The tribe joined him, banging stones, shouting, creating as much noise as possible. For a moment, the python hesitated. But then, it kept coming. Uru's mind raced. Fire alone wouldn't be enough this time. He glanced around quickly. The stream. An idea formed. He began to step backward, slowly guiding the python's attention toward the water. The others followed his lead, moving carefully, keeping the noise constant. The python advanced, drawn in. Closer to the stream. Closer. Uru stepped into the water, the cold current rushing around his legs. The others did the same, forming a loose line across the shallow stream. The python reached the edge. It paused again. Water was different, unpredictable, but hunger, or instinct, pushed it forward. It slid into the stream. That was the moment. Uru shouted loudly and thrust the burning branch toward the water's surface, where dry leaves and bits of wood floated. Others followed, pushing flaming sticks into the shallow areas. Smoke rose instantly. The water didn't burn, but the surface filled with thick, choking smoke as burning debris spread across it. The confined space, the sudden heat, the disorienting smoke, it was too much. The python reacted violently. Its body thrashed, sending water splashing in all directions. It recoiled, pulling back toward the bank, its movements no longer calm, but agitated. Uru didn't stop. He kept shouting, kept pushing forward, forcing the snake to retreat. The tribe joined him, their fear now mixed with something new, confidence. They weren't just running anymore. They were fighting back. The python hissed loudly, its body coiling defensively as it moved out of the water. For a moment, it seemed like it might strike, but the fire, the noise, the confusion held it back. And then, slowly, it began to withdraw. Again. This time, faster. It slipped back into the jungle, disappearing into the shadows, but not before turning its head one last time, as if memorizing them. Uru stood still, watching until the last movement vanished. Only then did he lower the burning branch. The tribe remained silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, the tension broke. They had done more than survive. They had driven it away. Uru looked around at his people, their tired faces, their steady breathing, their eyes filled with something stronger than fear. They had changed. This world was still dangerous. The giant python was still out there. And there would be other predators, other challenges. But now, they knew something they hadn't known before. They were not helpless. They could think, adapt, fight. As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the clearing, the tribe gathered their food once more, this time more cautiously, more aware. Uru stood at the edge of the stream, staring into the jungle. Somewhere in the darkness, the python still existed, watching, waiting, and perhaps, learning. Uru tightened his grip on his spear. Because deep inside, he felt it. This was not over. Not yet.